Is it me? Yeah. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Blissology Talks. So we got started a couple minutes late. Technology issues, but we are in the zone. And I wanted to introduce you all to today's guests. We have Shelly Prosko. Where are you today, Shelly?
I'm in Sylvan Lake, Alberta, Canada.
Sylvan Lake, Alberta. Wow, awesome. And Neil Pearson, where are you, Neil?
I'm actually at home in Penticton, British Columbia.
Penticton. Yeah, right on. And I'm Ian, and I'm here in Santa Cruz. And for people who haven't tuned into the show before, I feel very blessed with the people I come in contact with and the people I end up having coffee with and juices with and talking shop with. And so I really wanted to bring some of the great things that these people are doing out into the world and just kind of make these conversations a bit more available to the public. And so Neil and Shelly, I got these videos in my hand, there it is, with no reflection, have just created two, is it three you have or two?
We just two new ones. There's another one from before.
There's another one from before. Okay, so there's two new ones and one before called Overcoming Pain with Gentle Yoga. And these two are really collaborating a lot in the field of yoga and pain therapy. So it seems like there's a lot of different things that people could be focusing on in the yoga world or in the physical therapy world. So why don't we start with you, Neil? How did you kind of link these two topics together, both yoga and pain therapy? How did that kind of love come to you?
Wow, you know, it came after years of being a physiotherapist, and actually I was doing some meditation, and actually when I was living in Vancouver, and so I've been working as a physiotherapist for a long time, started to get interested in people who had chronic pain, and really interested because the stories they told often were things that I couldn't explain based on what I learned in school. And then I had started, because in pain management, mindfulness, meditation is so key, I started that, and then the meditation teacher actually said, hey, you know, you should really go to yoga because you're pretty stiff. And then so when I ended up there, I saw, well, actually this looked more like a complete system that was doing nearly everything that we were doing in pain management already, but was sort of packaged in this much safer place and, you know, less expensive than medical management. Yeah.
Got it. Nice. That sounds great. And Shelly, how about you?
Well, I started practicing yoga in the early 90s and mostly just for the physical benefits. And then I went to physio school in mid-90s. And I don't know, just pretty much right after I graduated from physio, I started using yoga, mostly just asana practice. It was asana prescription for my clients. And then as my own practice started deepen and I started learning more about, okay, this is more about breath, meditation, then about connection and all these other things, it just really naturally started to, I started to use it in my practice. And then I took a formal medical therapeutic yoga training, and then worked with Neil last few years with his pain care.
Just to stop you right there, if anyone is interested in a medical yoga training, where did you do that, and where can people do that?
Yeah, so the one that I took was Professional Yoga Therapy Studies, and it's out of North Carolina, but we're expanding. And it's the only one right now that's exclusively for healthcare professionals. So that, you know, that would be one that I recommend. But there's also other yoga therapy schools for yoga teachers. And, you know, I would recommend looking through the International Association of Yoga Therapists, and they have schools there that are credentialed. So, but the one that I took was the Professional Yoga Therapy Studies with Ginger Garner.
Sweet.
So,
and just so everyone knows, you know, Neil and Shelly teach together a lot on this topic or individually. So I'll give you their websites at the end, and we'll of course post them below. I thought we could start way back at basics, and yeah, I'll ask you, Neil, but just can you explain for people watching the difference between acute pain and chronic pain?
Well, I guess the most simple difference would be that we typically say that acute pain is pain that lasts up to around 3 months, and when pain goes beyond that, we say it's chronic. So normally when we're injured or when something happens to our body, we get pain, and the body is so resilient and the system's so amazing that typically after a period of time, either the tissue gets better or the system is not really all that interested in that sort of old news. But
Right.
in chronic pain, what's actually happened is the systems are acting as if there is something really threatening still going on. So regardless of how much healing happened, or regardless of anything else that's going on, we look at all the other systems of the body, the hormone system, the immune system, nervous system, they're all acting as if there's something really threatening, almost like it's still an acute problem right now.
Right. And what, in your experience, did you deal mostly with people in acute pain or chronic pain, or it's all over the board?
Well, now because of what I've been doing for a long time, nearly anybody who comes to see me has something that's not getting better like they normally would. Although, of course, I have lots of history of working in acute trauma and sports stuff. Yeah.
Right. And what are some? Do you have any example of any time that yoga has really helped any of your clients? Like any one example of someone who was in acute pain? And I'm just, where I'm going here is I'm wondering if people who are really interested in yoga, what kind of tools. What I'd love for people to leave with is kind of specific concrete tools that we can take with us and help people heal, or help ourselves heal, or maybe our moms or people close to us.
Wow, that's a lot wrapped up there in one question. So, like the tools that I think we want to give people.
Well, we'll get to the tools.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Maybe if you could just tell me, any examples of real, like maybe one example of a healing experience where yoga really helped someone in your practice.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, actually, I'll give you two really brief ones in terms of chronic pain. Well, I was working in this big chronic pain management center in Vancouver, and this woman came in. She'd had low back pain for a few years. She'd gone through everything, right, all the tests and the medical work and the physiotherapy. And what was really amazing is she used to do yoga, but the pain, she had actually stopped doing yoga. And when she heard that her physiotherapist was a yoga teacher as well, she wanted to talk to me about could she start it again. And it was really quite amazing is that there was something about that practice that we got her to start doing it, and her change was rapid. This is a person who had been a couple years of being stuck, and
Right.
And I think it's really that she already had those systems set up within her nervous system and within her mind, her body of being able to do this thing that was so peaceful and joyful for her, and reconnecting to that. I think that was what it was. We have to say she was moving, right? People trying to get her move, but when she started doing her yoga practice, there was something different that was in there that was missing in the other exercise. And the other example I would give you is actually I've seen this happen so many times of people coming in and they're fighting so hard to get better. Like everything that they're doing is trying to challenge what they can do and trying to walk longer, lift more, sit longer. And then when they start a yoga practice and they start to find that sense of calmness and peacefulness, and it's almost like they stop fighting. That when we don't fight so much, then we actually can move forward. And I think both of it relates to a lot of the stuff I really like about what you're doing. This idea is that sometimes what we need is to find peace first. Not always, right? Some people need to challenge themselves more, but some people need to find peace first to move forward.
Yeah. So is the conversation kind of about trying versus allowing? So instead of trying so hard to heal, just allowing yourself to be more centered and kind of allow healing to come more towards you? Would you describe it that way, or I don't want to put words in your mouth.
If someone is open to conversation like that, in my physiotherapy world, most people are more comfortable with me talking, more sciencey thing. So what I could say is, we know that the fight-flight system is part of what's helping to perpetuate this ongoing pain problem. And sometimes if all you do is fight, that can actually drive the hypervigilance of the system. And so sometimes what we need to do is get you to move away from so much fight. to turn down the sympathetic and turn up the parasympathetic to give your body a chance to get better. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I love it. I mean, yeah, it brings up a big, you can't help but think about the breath. And one thing I've been thinking about a lot recently is how it's so 101. The first yoga class we all went to, our first yoga teacher said it's all about the breath. But it astounds me both the simplicity, but how profound that really is, how deep that exploration of breath really is and where we're blocked. And I've been really trying to feel, whether it's emotionally or physically, when we can't get a full breath somewhere, there's always some place that we're in our bodies that are resistant to it. But most people don't have that general sense of body awareness. And that's what I think the big gift of yoga. It really allows you to start feeling where the blockages are. And I don't mean to, by the way, to say that it's only about the breath. That's all that heals you from chronic pain is breathing. But maybe we'll let you jump in on that topic, Shelly, about what you feel, how the breath is really helping your clients.
Yeah, actually, that's probably one of the most important areas that I think works is that breath awareness. And also, that's what my clients tell me the most is that it's the breath that's really helped them. And the breath can work on so many.
Can I stop in there for 1 second? Maybe I'll ask you a question right here, and then we'll get to your story. But I'm just curious, what if you go to a physiotherapy or physical therapy school? What do you learn what do you learn about the breath? Is it more functional, like how you breathe, or is there actual practical implications?
Yeah, it's more, we have a cardiorespiratory section, so it's very much the physiological effects of breathing. I don't remember getting into a lot of how the breath can affect you emotionally and your mood. It's definitely more physiological, structural, mechanical, and then talking about, blood gases and how that can change. And it does relate to the fear, fright, fight response. So for example, if you're experiencing persistent pain, one of the changes that can happen is your system is more in that fear, fright, fight, or that sympathetic nervous system dominance, and that can make you breathe differently. It can make you hold your breath. It could make you hyperventilate, maybe even, and blowing off more CO2. So in physio school, we would learn, okay, so low CO2 means acidic blood gas, which can then contribute to more sympathetic nervous system dominance. So we learn more of that in physio school, but not necessarily getting into, well, at least when I went to school in the 90s, getting into, emotions, and definitely not spirit. We don't talk about that layer.
And I'm not entirely sure that we need to bring that into the medical system, but it's interesting for anyone listening. One great it's probably available on podcast or YouTube right now is Weil Dr. Andrew Weil has a great podcast, and it used to be a CD, audio CD when I listened to it back in the 90s, called Breathing the Master Key. And what he talked about is what we're talking about. He had years of Harvard medical training, and he just learned the physiology, the anatomy of breathing, but none of the real healing techniques. And the conclusion of where he went, and it's a lot of what you were talking about, both you two, how the breathing is a big gap between the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system tone, and it is, when we're in our fight and flight response, which I think both of you two have talked to, it's really hard to heal. And his conclusion was that actually the best medicine is breath, and it's not even really addressed in our medical paradigm, or at least wasn't, 10 years ago. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. So I love that, whether we have a spirit or not, just to bring it back to the breath is a real great gift of yoga that you guys are finding.
Yeah, and if I can just say too on breath, we could, honestly, Ian, we could probably do a 3-day, 5-day training just on breath and all the effects that it has and how it can help pain. We just don't have time to get into it today, but just some things like calming your breath can not only calm your nervous system, but it maybe can, or some certain rhythmical breath patterns have been shown to increase serotonin, so that can change pain. Like we could just, there's a lot of different mechanisms that, and maybe just a calmer breath can help decrease muscle tension, which might be able to help that person move just a little bit better. And then that is, results in a cascade of events that can change pain. It's really complex. And one thing that, I learned from Neil, he always shares is, everything can change from pain. So every aspect of your being can change because of pain. And so pain can change every aspect as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And what's the video? You sent me a YouTube video link. This is a cool thing about us. We all so jazz on this stuff. We send each other video links about all this stuff. But there was one you sent out. I can't remember his name, but he was talking about back care. I have a reason why I'm bringing this up. But what was his name? What was that?
Yeah, that's Professor Peter O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
Peter O'Sullivan. Okay. Okay. Great. And what was the YouTube?
I believe the title was something about
Fact or myth, myths and facts, something like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Facts, myths about back pain. Yeah, it's a beautiful video. You know what I really liked about it? All the patient testimonials, so the client testimonials, and the when he interviews them before and then a year later, whenever it was. It's a profound video.
Cool. So maybe I'll switch over to Neil then. Just use this as a kind of jump-off point. But it's a fascinating video. It's kind of, if you're into healing at all, whether you're a yogi or a medical professional, or whether you just are concerned about the health of your body, which is pretty much all of us, I hope, it's a great video to watch. And in the video, what was interesting to me, and this is why I want to mention it, because something Shelly was talking about was that the breath helps you soften places. And if you watch the video, a lot of what these people have been told, so what I thought we could do is just real quickly, instead of just talking about pain generally, but I think most people know the statistics on back pain, and what people were being told a lot in this video is that you have to engage your core, stay rigid, and protect your spine at any cost. And I'll let you jump in there, Neil, and just maybe talk about that. So if you have someone who comes who's rigid in their spine, and like one of the clients that we saw in this video, I mean, you probably have a similar response, I'm guessing, but maybe you can talk to how you would deal with that.
Well, yeah, I think that what we need to do as practitioners, whether you're a yoga teacher or a physical therapist, is you need to actually start to know more about this whole pain thing. We are still mostly functioning under an idea that if it hurts a lot, there must be a lot of damage, and that the body must be fragile. And as a yoga teacher or as a health professional, if that's the message you're giving somebody with these ongoing pain problems, then you really don't understand the ongoing pain problems. Right. So what was happening was well-intentioned people were saying things to these others and giving them treatments to do that were actually maintaining their sense of fear, or if you want to say it a different way, maintaining the person's sense that their body was fragile and broken. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, if that's what you project to the patient or the student, or if that's what the patient or student has, they're going to be rigid. Right, so part of that rigidity can be from our fear of re-injury and our fear of more pain, but part of it can be from more the autonomic nervous system just getting into these ongoing loops, right, where the spasm causes more pain and the pain causes more spasm, and you get that kind of loop. So what Dr. O'Sullivan was really showing was that when you give people a different view of how threatening the problem is, when you can decrease the threat value of what's happening. And really in yoga we'd say when we can provide the person with a safe place to experience more ease of movement, right? That if a person can do that over and over and over again, what they can do is retrain the way the body's working, retrain the nervous systems. So I think it's genius what he's showing in that, and I think that's what we want to do is say, say the very first practical tool that we should be getting is we should be increasing our knowledge about this ongoing pain thing, because when we treat it as if that ongoing pain means that the body is super fragile and broken and you can't move it again, that's the problem. We gotta loosen that up. Yeah.
Right. And so just to clarify, you're not saying that it's only changing. I think what you're talking about is the change in the belief system that your body can heal itself, and it doesn't need to be in such a protective place. But that alone doesn't heal, or does it?
No. What we need to do is recognize is that there's a problem in that person's back, right? Something happened in there. There's a tissue issue in the back. Right. But there's also all this other stuff that's going on, and if we're going to help this person get better, we need to actually address what's happening in their back, but also what's happening in every other aspect of their existence. So, we have to look at, is their breath really tight? Can we find a way to calm it? Is their body really hanging on for dear life? Is there a way that we can release that? Are there thoughts that the person has about what's going on in their back? And sometimes what we need to do is change our belief system, because of that brokenness can really be a big problem. But I think one of the things you're getting at is we need to be sure that everyone hearing is understanding is we're not saying that the image of brokenness or the fear is the problem. It's just part of the problem, right? And we need to address the, as we do in yoga, we need to address it all, not just, as a physical therapist, what did I learn? Fix the back and everything be peachy, right? Right. Of course, we recognize, no, that's not it. And in psychology, they learn fix psychology and everything will be wonderful. But now we're recognizing is that we really do need to work on this biopsychosocial view, or this.
I love that biopsychosocial view. That's
yeah. But like this, right?
We have such a big tendency to treat the body like a machine, in modern living.
Yeah.
Oh, take out this, just fuse these joints together, and just part or that part, and I mean, it seems a little too convenient sometimes. But.
Well, I think in yoga we've stumbled. We have this view of this very holistic, broad, integrated view of self, and we know that in yoga things we can sort of be disconnected. But it's like when a person in yoga has pain, we forget all that stuff, and we attribute the pain completely to one aspect of the person's existence. So some yogas would attribute it completely to the mind, and some would attribute it completely to the body, and now we've got yogas that attribute it completely to the fascia, right? So there's these. I think it's because that's the way our brain works. Our brain wants linear, simple connections. And even in yoga, we need to keep our minds open to this. And so I think, hey, if the medical world is getting that we need a integrated biopsychosocial view, we should be able to do that in yoga too.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. And maybe there's one question about this is, and this tackles a larger issue. One thing that I think about is, as yoga instructors, what? Okay, here it is. Let me back up one step. I always describe in our teachers training programs that if you use words or phrases and you don't really know what you mean, that is my definition of a flake. And yoga instructors get in trouble all the time from people in the medical system or people who are very rational people, because we say breathe into your leg or breathe into your shoulder, but we all know that those are not the muscles that we traditionally breathe with. But you use a phrase like breathe into your lower back with people, for example, or how do you phrase that, or if you do?
I would say create a sensation as if you are.
Yeah.
And that gets everybody out of the murkiness of it. Yeah.
Shelly, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I say words similar to that, or sometimes I just simply say imagine. Imagine as if you are, breathing through that, to that area, or, visualization techniques. And yeah, just not saying necessarily breathe into. Yeah, you're right. Your choice of words is important.
It is good. It's true. You know, that's it. All you have to do is add one little phrase to it, like feel as if you're breathing into, like Neil said, or whatever.
Yeah, or just imagine.
Shelly said, or just imagine. Um, Having said that, all it feels like, you know, one of the things I've been trying to cue is to actually feel movement in that area with breath, because there is a movement. I mean, breath is not just something that we do with our lungs or neck or intercostal muscles. You know, even something really simple like in a pigeon pose, I'll tell people to feel movement in their hip muscles when they're breathing into it, whether in chronic pain or not. And there is some kind of movement that happens there. Maybe I'll jump to you, Shelly. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've done something similar, but you know what? If we're talking about chronic pain, one thing that seems to work well is have the person experience, you know, whatever they're experiencing. So instead of necessarily telling them what to feel, you know, a nice place to start is just have them explore. So I use that word a lot, explore, and be curious, and bring them to that area. So if you're thinking about the hips or the leg or the shoulder blade, you can take them to that area with guidance, and then they can figure out maybe what's going on, and maybe you could suggest, you know, staying with the rhythm of your breath, see how that feels, and then go to that body part and explore what you're feeling. So I do that a lot, and it seems to work well. And one thing I want to get in here to make sure we mention it is that research shows actually that awareness techniques can help reduce and manage pain. And we don't know exactly what mechanism, but we do know this is true. So that, you know, that's one thing that us yogis.
What's the data on that? How did, like, do you know who measured that? Was there a survey done? I mean, was there a
There are several studies. I'm going to defer to Neil to see if I don't know if you're looking for names and dates. I don't know specifically. Neil, do you know anything specific?
Well, actually, I just saw there's a new study out looking at, this is a pilot study looking at, can you use mindfulness meditation to change pain in people who have chronic pain? And it showed some positive results, so that there's that. But there's also that other really fascinating things is if you look at the work that Bud Craig has been doing and that he's written in his new book, How We Feel. It's incredible to see, you know, the research that's saying that when you are able to feel the physiological sensations of your body, or the subtle non-pain sensations of your body, this totally changes what's happening in the insula in the brain, and the way the insula is interpreting that. The insula is this really cool place of the brain because it pays attention to all this stuff that's happening inside your body. Sort of the stuff of what you were talking about, Ian. If you're feeling sensations around your hip while you're breathing, well, what you're actually doing is sending more of that, either sending more of that information to the insula, or the insula is paying more attention to it. And now the insula is cool because it's sort of more of a midbrain.
Yeah.
It's a midbrain structure, but it's attached to your emotional stuff too. Right. And so what Bud Craig's been able to show is that people who can feel what's happening in their body, at least if the people who can feel their heartbeat better, they also can notice their emotional state and their thoughts better, and which means, of course, that they can regulate them more. And also, what's really fascinating, it even goes on further, is that people who can feel the physiological state of their body tend to be more compassionate externally as well, because they actually, by feeling yourself or becoming more aware of yourself, you become more aware of other people and subtle cues from outside. But I mean, here's a guy who spent like 30 years and he's putting it all together through this book, and I wish I could tell you it's a really easy book to read, but it's
Can you
pretty.
Repeat one more time? It's called How We Feel. Who wrote
How We Feel, and it's Dr. Bud Craig, and it's all about interoception, which in the world we'd say it's all about pratyahara, right?
Right.
So and you know, if I think that's the one thing, if there was one thing that we really wanted to say that we're not doing a lot of in terms of pain management, that the science really would support we should do, it's increase awareness. So we've started to get the idea of body awareness, But I think the
Right.
one practice for me that at least when I'm working with people that seems to be so important is just a daily practice of paying attention to your breath. So rather than making all your breath work about trying to control your breath or change it or regulate things, actually make a daily practice where all you do for the next few minutes is listen to your breath, feel what happens in your body when you breathe, just really get into the sensations of it. That seems to be, if you think about it, if breath control is what you're after, well, you can't really control something if you're not aware of it.
Right.
So often what we do is we jump right past the whole awareness piece and jump to the regulation piece.
Mm.
And so I think that's a problem in terms of breath regulation practices. But on the other hand, as Shelly said, the science is growing that awareness practices by themselves have profound change. I mean, this is the essence of John Kabat-Zinn's work and Joseph Goldstein and Sharon Salzberg's work. Like that's all about awareness with, well, it's non-elaborative awareness, right? So
Right.
you're aware, but you don't elaborate on what you're aware about. Yeah.
Right. It's a first person experience, and that simple awareness is enough. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, well, it seems to. It's with some people with chronic pain, it's absolutely amazingly profound the effects that this can have. But of course, you understand that, or we have to understand, is that trying to do this in the face of intense pain is hard. Trying to do it when it's hard to focus or concentrate because of the pain is hard. Trying to do it because when you can't sit still because the pain is agitating you is hard. So it's actually learning how to do this in the face of ongoing pain is really a hard thing to do.
Right.
But when we find the opportunity for the person to practice it, which often you get when you're in a yoga class, right, the right kind of yoga class where it's safe and it's calm and you can pay attention to yourself, there's nothing else for you to do, sometimes that sort of sets people up to be in a better place to learn.
Wow. And I want to ask you one question, and this is just my own kind of development also, but would you ever use the word, because I know when I follow what you're saying is to move from controlling the breath to awareness of breath, and I've kind of worked on a similar trajectory, but would you ever use the word enjoy?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the thing is that I think that one of the reasons that yoga can be so effective, the practice of yoga can be so good for people, is that it's got that joy part. There's something about it that feels really good when we find the right yoga practice, the right asana practice for ourselves. When we find that, I think it changes our chemistry in such a profound way. Right, and that comes to the individuality of it. Sometimes people would prefer the hot, more moving yoga, even when from a medical view you're thinking like that doesn't seem like it'd be the right place to go, but the person is saying that works.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And God, I'm still running out of time. So, but I just wanted to point out one thing is I just on the mindfulness thing and I would just love people out there to pick this up, because whether you're dealing with pain or just physical pain, emotional pain, whether you're just trying to stay clear and present in life, my recent definition of meditation is that meditation is the relaxed enjoyment of simple pleasures like breath and being aware of the state of mind that happens when you do this. And the key point there is that it's not work. Meditation and mindfulness and like to sit down and do what you just mentioned, again, whether you're in pain or you just want to get centered in your day, to take 2 minutes and get centered and feel your breath is actually one of the greatest joys out there. And it's not like, oh God, I got to sit here and meditate now. I'm mindful and okay, I'll go to the dishes after that, and it's one of my tasks to do in the day, but it's the deep pleasure just to enjoy the breathing. And so to bring that into healing is so amazing. And I did want to touch on one thing before we left, and that's Shelly's an interesting case because you can look her videos up. And by the way, I'm going to post links to all these books and, of course, links to Neil and Shelly's websites and stuff they're up to on our YouTube channel, on our Blissology YouTube channel. But one thing that Shelly's done has actually been her own patient and her own therapist. I know with your Achilles injury. Do you want to speak a little bit about how you healed, and I know I want to probe both of you guys for your top 3 tools that people can take with them when they want to heal themselves and others with yoga and physical therapy. So maybe if you can tie that into your little quick story, just make it real quick. But
okay, yeah, I'll try to make it quick. Good luck. Okay, so yeah, I ruptured my Achilles tendon, and I didn't.
Neil can get his cane from all the way from Penticton. If you go too long, he'll get his little cane. Sorry, go ahead.
Give me the 5-minute warning. I'm used to those signs now.
Yeah.
But yeah, just my Achilles tendon rupture. Basically, the physical therapy wasn't supposed to start for about 6 to 8 weeks after, and of course, there's so many different factors that are involved in healing that I said, no, I'm going to start my therapy right away. So I used my medical therapeutic yoga, or everything that I know about yoga, and to heal, even though I was in a cast, and that just, it just really emphasizes the fact that healing isn't just about the physical tissue. It's everything. It's our emotions, our mindset, our immune system, hormonal system. All these different things can affect healing. And so I use different breath methods, meditations, movements of the body parts that I could. And so I'll kind of tie in with this now that my top 3 yoga tools to help people in pain. And the first one, which I did when I was healing, is what we already talked about. It's the awareness, the breath and the body awareness techniques. Mm-hmm. And the second one is then some focused. So that first is the pratyahara. Then the second is the meditation and focused concentration. So that could be through a focused breath meditation, or perhaps something through a focused body scan, something through the body that you're actually guiding the person purposefully. And I used a lot of, like belly breathing or a 3-part breath or alternate nostril breathing, different things like that. And then the third technique I would say would be the movement, but not just any kind of movement that follows certain guidelines that we go through in the Pain Care Yoga training, but movement that it's mindful and you're monitoring emotions and thoughts and you're keeping your breath calm and your body tension low. So those would be the 3. And I know we're short on time, but what I did, I want to share this with everybody. Yeah. This will be the last thing that I'll say. And when I was thinking about, okay, what are the most important things that really help my clients, I thought, why not ask my clients? So I sent out, I think it was on Tuesday, 10 emails to clients that have suffered through chronic pain for years, some of them decades, and that they've all been quite successful with the yoga therapy that I've been doing with them. So I thought, okay, let's see what they say. And hands down, number 1, everybody said this, and I've got a list. What is it?
I said drum roll, please. I should get Neil to pull the envelope out. I gotta get Neil in a bikini pulling this envelope.
Does anyone want to guess?
Love. Community.
Breath.
They said in different words, but the main thing was that I taught them that they could trust and not be so fearful of movement. Let go. One person said they were taught to believe that there was another way of living without pain, knowing that they could get help. The biggest thing was that change was possible and that they didn't mess up their body for life. So a lot of that, I say, how did I teach all those things? A lot of it is the pain education, and then through yoga, all of our yoga philosophy, yamas, niyamas. I mean, I'm constantly bringing those messages into treatments, knowing their limits and boundaries was big, and we talk a lot about that in Pain Care Yoga. Brahmacharya, moderation, the balance between Ishvara Pranidhana, surrendering, versus tapas, and when do you push and challenge. So that they found that the philosophy stuff the most beneficial. And then number 2 high was breathing. Everyone had that in their answer as well, or almost everyone. And then the other things were some of the things they said, connecting with my body again. And this was interesting. One girl said, "You helped me focus on my pain through meditation," which she thought helped her get better. And again, research shows that focusing on pain on purpose without an emotional reaction to it is more beneficial than distraction, than using distraction techniques or avoiding it. So that was really cool. You taught me how to turn my body into an instrument I can use as opposed to something broken to be fixed. So she changed her whole body image, which that can be through all other processes too. With if you're not moving and not breathing, that can change your awareness, that can change your thoughts, emotions, which can change your body image. And so you can see there's so many things. And then most people, did talk about movements. So some people gave me like 3 or 4 specific asanas that they thought really helped them. And so Shavasana, one person said it was Shavasana. She said Shavasana helped her the most to help.
That the movement was actually included in there, because I didn't want people to think that we're only...
Isn't that, so here's a perfect thing. So it's everything. So that's why you can't just pick one.
Yeah, I mean, damn, you're making this really hard. We're going to have to do another one. Okay, we'll have to do another one of these conversations coming up. Neil.
Yeah.
Top three tools.
Top 3, I'm just going to give you top 3 my ideas around pain management. Number 1, realize that getting better when you have chronic pain is not like a one-shot thing. It takes practice. It takes persistence. It's something that happens a little bit at a time for the vast majority of people.
Cool.
Number 2 is if you've got ongoing pain, become an expert in understanding pain and become an expert in doing the techniques that could help. Don't dabble. When we dabble in things, we're just not doing enough to try to change the system. So get into it, really do it, and expect that changes are going to happen, just like any other change over time. And then my third sort of simple thing would be, if you're going to do movement in the face of ongoing pain, this is how you shouldn't do it. So say it was my shoulder, don't do it like this. I know I'm overstating something, but I think it's really key. When we hold our breath, we send a message to the nervous system, this is dangerous. When we tense up our body, we send a message to our nervous system that says, this is dangerous. So if you want a simple reason of why you should work on breath awareness and breath control and body awareness, it's so that you don't do what I just did. If you can move with calm breath and calm body and calmer mind, that's how you're going to be able to regain function over time.
Love it. Oh my God. Well, thank you both for not dabbling. Going in deep. I mean, that's incredible. And thanks everyone for watching and being part of this, because pain is something that's going to hit us all. We don't have to look far to find people who are in pain, and whether it's physical, or emotional, and usually there's a lot of tools that continue through both. You can find both these two. Again, we'll have links in our YouTube channel for how you can find them both. But just so you know, PhysioYoga.ca is Shelly Prosko, Neil Pearson, lifeisnow.ca, and yeah, we'll post all the links to the great resources that we've posted there. And this won't be the last conversation. I do want to mention these guys travel a lot teaching what they're doing, and it's so cool that they don't just teach to the yoga community, but also at medical conferences. I think that's great. The more we can bridge those two worlds and really truly make healing happen, we're just got to progress this thing. And got one lifetime. We're taking the baton, trying to do the best we can in our lifetime to become better healers and passing on to the next generation. So thanks, both you two, for the work that you do.
Thanks for having us, Ian.
Yeah, thanks for what you do, and we got to talk about love and community and how that can affect pain too next time.
Yeah, it's kind of part of it is that we talk about embodiment, but okay, we'll leave on this note, and that is that that if we're going to be present with someone, I had to give a Lululemon video last year on presence, and I tried to get presence down into a Twitter feed, and I realized that actually it's quite simple. Presence is embodied tenderness. That when we are really present, you need to be in your body, and when you're in your body, then it allows us to be more intimate, more tender with life. And that's just it, is that I think the breath and all the techniques that we're talking about just allows us to really be like this, whether we're in pain or not in pain. So I'll leave it at that. Anyway,
Right.
thanks everyone for listening, for watching. Spread kindness, do good things, heal yourself, heal others, and just keep on smiling as much as you possibly can. One lifetime, one love. All good.
All right.
I'm Eoin Finn. This is Blissology Talks. Namaste and aloha.